can see it better now. It was so dark. It might be something. I don't know. A little better. A little brighter. I don't know. Good. I guess so. Hi guys, it's Alan. Again, as strange as it sounds, I'm talking about again targeted individuals, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about before a little bit. But it's I guess when you're raised religious, and if you take it kind of serious, there's a lot of people with the whole spectrum as far as levels of seriousness and, uptight about it, or it makes them wonderful, loving people. And sometimes they can be restrictive. Here's one written, I wasn't raised Catholic, but here's one of the best books written by a priest, Catholic priest, Thomas Santa, just like Santa, this gentleman. And it's Understanding Scrupulosity. And it's for people, if you're religious and you take it serious, but then you're plagued with also questions and doubts about it. And you really try to follow it, but then you have all these questions and anxieties. Like for the Catholic, it might be if you drop the communion wafer, accidentally step on it, is God mad at you like it's the body of Christ? I mean, literally. Or if you have a sin and you took the drink anyway, and the blood of Christ. It's like people can get anxious over different areas of their faith. Now, for me, a very helpful book was written actually by Marlene Winnell. And I guess it's fair to say she's a humanist. I'm not saying, I don't know about atheists, but it was very helpful. Now, she was raised Assembly of God and her parents were missionaries. But I literally thought, because I had side pain and I couldn't feel much of my emotions. This started after like 15, 16, 17, and I'm 53 now. And this is something I had written, I was taking notes on this when I was 24. And why can't I feel on my side, my left side right here? Why is there always a continual pain, constant, chronic side pain? And I thought, well, maybe the stress of the doubt, or, he must increase, I must decrease type stuff. And I literally thought, well, other people have been more harsh and more doubts, and I'm sure more strict. They have families and kids, and that's harder. Why don't I see it all over the internet? I mean, some people have stresses about it, and that's common. But this continual side pain, and I literally went 30 years not knowing, well, maybe I went to the religion too much and constant thinking about it. And that's the OCD, basal ganglia looping. But here was a great thing. It's like he must increase and I must decrease in that picture like there. My loss is, to quote John the Baptist, he must increase and I must decrease. And it symbolizes the attempt of a loss of identity, your feelings, emotions. And I literally thought that. Hey, Tanya, it's good to see you. It's really good to see you. It's a friend, another TI. And it's really wonderful to see you. And my mom went out to get a haircut, so I thought I'd do a quick video. And I thought, well, go ahead and do a thing on this. And it was really helpful because I remember reading, Fundamentalism, Hazards, and Heartbreak. And again, it's about the same type of thing. The self-directed life versus the Christ-directed life. And a lot of TI stuff does deal with the issue of your beliefs, your hopes, your your faith or non-faith, if it's a different belief, what you find positive, what helps you, or what is difficult for you. You know, it's a lot of this stuff. It's very good to see you, Tanya. I've been going to some different ones on the groups. Thank God for Targeted Justice, Anna Toledo, Len Bear. You know, I'm so thankful. Derek, Frank, just Roy, you know, I'm so glad. And Harold in Germany. Melanie Vitram. I can go on with, I'm just so thankful that they give us the ability to relate to other people, you know. So anyway, I was talking about scrupulosity is a form of OCD where they deal with this, you know, that type of OCD with religion. And that's what it forms, scrupulosity. And in 1986, there was an episode of Donahue. And a guy named Billy Jackson told an audience how his type of fundamentalism had been practiced. And this is what I thought, similar. I thought I went through this myself, and I kind of thought I had the wrong idea. I thought in our fundamentalism had been practiced in the church, and it's like we had to become like Jesus Christ and die to ourselves. In other words, your own personality is killed off, and you try to replace it with what would Jesus do. And when you do, like if a person left their particular church or whatever, their personality has been died off to such a point that you couldn't relate to anything else. And that's what keeps you in there, because you can't think or relate to anything but. Can you imagine somebody being Amish and suddenly leaving the Amish community and all that type of thing? Now that's an extreme. Thank God for TVs and shows like Breaking Amish. And there are good, I'm not trying to put down the Amish people, or, you know, they do some good things too, but I've never been to an Amish, so I've read books and that's it. But can you imagine leaving your whole surroundings, your family, and then you can't relate to no electricity, and then suddenly that's a lot of growing up. You know, now they have some Mennonite groups of former Amish that help bring them back, and they might bring them to their church, and it's, you know, maybe people that can relate. And, you know, and it's not trying to put down Amish or any particular group. There's people that come out of every religion. There's people who have left atheism and become religious. And that's something I've studied a lot, many years on, just to see if they had the same side pain, and to see if they had the same issues. But then I found out that the side pain, there could have been some stress, but really it wasn't until 30 years after, you know, 2015, 2016, where I heard about Havana syndrome and then directed energy weapons. And then the other stuff started happening that target individuals go through. And if it didn't happen to you, it'd be hard to believe. Because I'm not an anti-government person or Oregon militia, but I can see how they do experiment on people, and don't ask for permission. They sometimes just do it, won't tell the person, and nobody tells the person until, hopefully, they may never tell the person. I just was fortunate enough, after I got hurt and had to learn to walk again, literally walk again, to find out, it's like, oh, this is part of a government program. And they've done this to other people, and you hear about MK Ultra. And anyway, what this does with the directed energy, there's an implantable, like a D.E.W, or, you know, just an electronic device that has extreme, like a low frequency, and it blocks a lot of the emotions that you would normally feel, because it tightens up the muscle of, you know, or the muscles around this area, tightens it up to where your ability to normally feel becomes blocked by this radiation electrical field. And so I spent years just trying to meditate and pray and just like, what is it? And just not being able to feel, you know. And I thought, with the religion thing, was it too much, you know? But I didn't want to tell people because I didn't want to, you know, have them catch whatever, you know. It's like, did they? It's like, it didn't make sense. I didn't want them to go through it too. It was just weird. But thank God for the Yellow Free rally and in Portland. And then it's like, oh, and then the weird stuff happening. And then right down the line and all the books of target individuals that I got on Amazon, it was true. And what happened like with Havana syndrome is that was preparation for what is now known as brain-computer interface, being hit with different, you know, and they even talked about DEWs. Normally in the same TV shows that deal with Havana syndrome, they were talking about directed energy weapons for literally 5, 6, 7 years. Myron May was one of the lawyers. He was a lawyer at Florida State when that shooting. He was a shooter, but he was a lawyer. And he did 3 YouTube videos describing what it was, you know, what it was. And that he had mailed letters to some of the people from either PACs and Targeted Justice and wonderful organizations that help other target individuals that are people like me or other people that are used as experiments, as experimentation to see how these weapons work on people. You know, it's like a federal grant that they do this to people to see how it reacts to that person, how it changes or molds their behavior, how they feel, and then if they have like a Stephen Hawking type thing where it can read your brain mapping, and then they could read the thought, see it in real time, and then see the feeling or something. And the worst part is, if people have V2K, it's like it's like, oh, they don't care. And it's like you care immensely about this thing because that's what you always think about. But because a lot of the emotions that you would normally feel through your heart, and then, you know, like when you put your hand on your chest for devotion and pledge, you know, that you really love something right here, it blocks it. They literally block the feeling part of the self. I'd say good, you know, for years, and it can really. There isn't a lot of this upswing, you know, and they do all these little gang stalk things, and that's another weird thing that's hard to understand and believe. But I've seen this stuff happen. And I had no enemies, so it's not like, oh, I know why there is no reason. I didn't have enemies. They were people in my hometown I thought were pretty nice and pretty decent. People make mistakes, but there was no reason for anyone to be, you know, mad at me. And I thought they were nice to me too. I didn't, you know. Anyway, it's like when you're trying to get in touch with your emotions, a lot of it, like if you have pain meds, they'll think, well, it's because of like pain medication. Well, in this case, it's really, they'll call it entrainment, like brain entrainment. And Nick Begich, I think his son just became a House representative from Alaska, Dr. Nick Begich. Anyway, he's got a wonderful book describing this type of psychotronic, is the word, electronic and psychological, put together, and psychotronic technology, where it's technology, chips that work on the brain, the emotions, to monitor and adjust the thoughts and thinking patterns and feelings, and vital signs like telemetry, and in real time get back to the person or talk to the person. You know, most probably won't have V2K, voice to skull. And if you have never heard of such a thing or never experienced it, it's hard to believe. But yeah, it's just, you know. And another thing is that if it's in the religious part, a question that's always been difficult is how are you supposed to feel when it comes to the Christian church has always had a difficulty when it comes to the acceptance of either psychology. There's now a lot of good Christian psychologists and therapists, but there's always been this old type of battle between like the danger of self-love. I have a book here on that subject too. The Danger of Self-Love by Paul Brownback. He's a Christian and a pastor, but he describes how historically and even biblically there's been kind of this tension between biblically, in the last days, people will be lovers of themselves rather than lovers of God, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. And it's like, and today now we've got more accepting Joel Osteen, Robert Schuller in the last 30, 40 years. Great people like Norman Vincent Peale who have been more positive in their type of faith. Billy Graham even, I thought. But so it's not one of these, humdrum, for such as a worm is I type thing. Anyway, this one is like the basis of self-love from Eric Fromm, Karen Horney, and the shift. But and then if you have a this type of thing where you also not only have that, and that's what I was thinking for all those years, but really to find out I was wrong. It wasn't so much the doctrines. I mean, that was part of but it was really the directed that thing that took so much of the emotion out of the way, and I really thought it was because who would have thought that would happen to you? It's always he must increase, I must decrease, I must die to myself, pick up my cross, and all that. And so by doing that, I literally thought, well, by doing that, it causes side pain, and it's like no, those things are issues, but the real thing that did it was the directed energy. An implantable thing that I was thankfully taking pain meds for, but you can't see it, but there's kind of an area right here too, where the capillaries are not just right here where there's a redness, but broken capillaries and a bump. There's a bump right here where there shouldn't be. And that goes at a totally different angle. It's not a rib cage or a rib or anything, and that's where the directed energy implantable thing. And I'm saying this not because I know this could happen to other people. I mean, it does happen to them, and thank God for targeted justice in these, PACs International, and that help people finally get the answers they've been looking for. And the answer in this case is pretty huge to find out, but thankfully it's someone that can give you answers. You can relate to them and talk about it. A couple of times I tried to give them like money but then they stopped it. When I say they, the swamp, handlers, whatever. I only did it about 2 or 3 times where I was trying to do it, so maybe I should try again. Because I am so thankful for all those years just starving to find out what it is and why there's a side pain. And thankfully, and they even have, daily studies and religious studies, and I still deal with the stuff up there, but as far as not crazy, it's like, theological this and that, but I keep it to myself, and I'm sure the handlers have fun with it. So anyway, I think my mom's home. So anyway, a lot of good books. And then understanding scrupulosity. Very good. So I'll talk to you guys later, okay?